All right, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. My name is Bill Maston. I'm Executive Vice President of Sales at PeopleFluent. PeopleFluent is an organization that's been around for a couple decades. We've been delivering learning solutions under the NetDimensions brand. We actually merged NetDimensions into PeopleFluent last year, which is an exciting time for the business as we've added to our whole set of capabilities that we take out to the market, which we'll talk a little bit about with you today. But our focus is going to be around the learning system. Michael, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining. My name is Michael Mcpherson. I'm the EMEA Sales Director, and I'll be going through, well, as Bill's already teed up, we're looking at learn more, be compliant, grow business and measure impact, and focusing on the NetDimensions LMS part within PeopleFluent Learning.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali Zahir. I'm a Senior Solutions Consultant at PeopleFluent, and I'll be going through some key demos here. I'll show you some live examples after Bill and Michael go through the examples in detail.
So we did a brief introduction of PeopleFluent, but I also wanted to bring your attention to the group we're also part of, which is the Learning Technologies Group. So which offers a much broader set of capabilities within services and content, whether that be content delivery with Leo or an authoring tool with Gomo. And as Bill had mentioned, we were recently acquired by the group. We're on stand F10, so please do come by and take a look at a number of the companies there, both Leo, Uclea, Gomo, PeopleFluent, and we'd love to tell you a bit more about each of these organizations.
Great. So we're just going to show a few slides, and then we're going to get into the demo, and we're going to have Ali kind of show you kind of our vision of how we help organizations achieve their learning goals, right? But to start, I thought what we'd do is try to put a little bit of context around what kind of problems we help organizations solve. This is an example of a Gartner study that was done last year that really kind of went out to the market. 460 CEOs were interviewed. These were organizations that ranged from 50 million to 100 billion, or to $1 billion revenues. And really the question that was asked of the CEOs were, what are your key initiatives for 2019, okay? And so you can see growth, workforce, customer, sales, cost management. These are all things that we are going to kind of tangentially touch on today when we talk about our demo and how we're helping organizations solve their growth initiatives. Ali, next one. Kind of further, a little bit further into that study, they actually talked about what are the constraints to those initiatives. If growth is your #1 initiative, what's constraining you as an organization from being able to grow? And what you see here is employee issues, talent and skills, and then regulations and laws. And we're going to show you how our solutions actually help address those constraints and help organizations get on the path to be able to meet their goals.
So to Bill's point, this isn't just PeopleFluent coming up here telling you what we feel is most important to top table CEOs in terms of the challenges, but it's also within the analyst reports. To take that one step further, you just have to take a look at some of these organizations we see on screen here. We're not talking about small figures here. In terms of the compliance risk to these organizations, nearly 200 million was paid out in legal fees and other matters just in 2018 alone for Coca-Cola. Well, the rest speak for themselves.
Yep.
Furthermore, in terms of the cost to defend themselves, that's also equally high. Nearly 20 million across Dell, Walmart, and these are, again, figures within 2018 in order to pay out to defend themselves against the compliance and missed legislation, whether that be salary promotion, sex discrimination, race discrimination, and so on.
Right. All right, so, and we'll talk a little bit more about our compliance solution and how we help organizations mitigate that risk in just a little bit. We're going to show some examples, but I think it's also important to note that on this Gartner study, it actually shows, and their prediction is that within just a few years here, organizations are going to be able to earn up to 20% more if they are identified as a trustworthy brand. So all of a sudden, compliance is not just about risk avoidance and avoiding fines and doing the right thing and all that kind of stuff, but it's also about is your organization deemed trustworthy, and that will actually have a bottom line impact. Go on, next one. Okay, so what we did here is we kind of set up a little story before Ali jumps into it. And really, this kind of thing happens to me all the time. My boss comes in and says, we have a project, I have a special project for you, right? And we need you to plan for next year. We need you to hit your sales numbers. We're launching new products. What is the plan? How are you going to enable your sales force? How are we going to address the compliance issue, the GDPR compliance issue that we had a lawsuit for? And then how are you going to measure all that, right? So this is the kind of thing that happens to me and to others in the world.
No small challenge?
No small challenge. And what we would do in this kind of situations, we pull together a team, and we'd bring in Ali and say, Ali, help us get there. So take it away, Ali, and show us a demo of the systems that we have to help solve those kinds of problems.
Perfect, thank you. Just doing a sound check again. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, perfect. So what we've done is we've created scenarios based on what Bill had mentioned. So the first scenario is the compliance scenario, where I'll log in as a learner, and the learner has missed, let's say, a deadline for a very important course. Let's see what the learner sees. Then from there, I'll log in as a supervisor. Then we'll move into the multi-language capability, because we might have users in different parts of the world. And then from there, we'll log in as a salesperson, the VP of operations, and then I'll show you a couple of other features before we end the presentation. So with that, my first user is Natasha. And again, the story is, the scenario is she's missed a deadline for an important course. So when I click on login, what happens is the system blocks her access immediately and provides her with an alert up front that, in this case, you are behind progress for GDPR Essentials course that expired on the 31st of January 2019. Now there are three options that you can have the administrator configure the system. Either they can click on continue. It was just an alert for reference purposes. The second option is you can lock the course down completely, which means when an auditor comes in and runs a report, it would actually say course locked on the report. They won't be able to get access at all. They've missed the time. Yeah, it's really strict. We have some clients who do that today. Right. So,
Chief compliance officers love this feature, right? They're like, lock it down. You can't use the system. You have to take the course.
And then admins love the third feature, which is you can let them click on continue, and we call it the enforce option. If they try launching any other course, the system will bring them back to this screen saying, sorry, you won't be able to launch anything till you complete GDPR Essentials. So yeah, pretty strict. That's the compliance story here.
Pretty strict, but if you put that in the context to the fines that we just saw on the previous screen, all of a sudden the need to make sure people are taking these courses on time when they should be, so when the audit comes around, everything's in place.
So now what I've done is I've clicked on continue, I've carried on. This is Natasha's homepage, and within the system you can have different brandings for different locations, for different roles, for different users. It could be for different languages, but in this example, let's say Natasha's based in London. She gets to see her details, training stats here. On the right-hand side, we have the concept of learning path or the learner journey. So if I click on this takes me to that page where on this page, she gets to see her requirement. Now this is the learning path. It could be job specific, it could be location specific, it could be product specific, it could be project specific, or it could be a generic one, and I've created 2 examples for that. But in this example, we've got a course designer, so she creates content. These are all the skills, so authoring tools, planning and organizing work, and Excel skills. These are all her competencies. She needs to complete activities so the system can award her with these competencies. And then each of these skills or competencies are connected to courses within the system. The reason why we have GDPR Essentials in process in orange is because she's still working on it, and we had the blocker alert as soon as I logged in. So she can see that visually, and she can even launch content directly from this screen. If I scroll down further, if she has permissions, if there are other courses too, she can simply click on enroll and launch directly from this view and complete all of her courses from this one screen. Learners can also change or toggle the view from horizontal versus vertical based on their preference. But this is another example that I wanted to highlight. Since we spoke about having your own structures, you've got onboarding and week 1, week 2, and week 3 as all of the required timelines that she has to complete all of her trainings in. So if I go back, she's got some other shortcuts, but if I scroll down further, she can also see expiring certifications on the right-hand side. She can see her progress tracker. The system will tell her whether you're behind, you're on target, help all of those details. But it will also alert the learner for competency statuses. We have alerts going out if the system revokes a competency, which I'll show you when I log in as a supervisor. So we've seen the compliance scenario from a learner side. I'm going to log in as a supervisor.
Thank you, Ali. So we started off talking about the fines. We started off talking about making sure those alerts are coming in. But it's not all strict, down to the bone compliance. There are some independent learning aspects to it. They're able to see the learning path. They're able to enroll on different courses. So it offers both sides of the coin, if you will.
Thanks, Michael. So here what I've done is I've logged in as a supervisor. She lands on the team page where she gets to see the compliance status for all of their team members. We logged in as Natasha a few seconds ago. She had 3 learning paths associated with her account. The supervisor can see that directly on this screen. She's got a drill down view option so she can find out exactly where the gaps are. So at this point of time, the reason why we had the blocker alert was GDPR Essentials. The supervisor gets to see that on screen here. Some other examples for manufacturing clients, automotive clients, we've got supervisors walking around the site with this page loaded on their devices, their iPads, so they can exactly find out who's out of compliance, who's compliant or completed their training. In addition to this, what we also have is the compliance analysis tool. Oops, sorry. And this feature is built in, allows the supervisor to run a report, or anyone who has permissions, either at the global level, at their team level, so they can find out exactly who's compliant, what's the compliance percentage, what's the training progress percentage at that point of time. It's a real-time report.
Yeah. And I think the other point there is location specific. So a lot of organizations, they're going to have different compliance requirements based on the location, right? If you've got a manufacturing business, where you've got on the floor personnel that have to have safety compliance courses versus the back office team have different maybe financial regulatory compliance requirements. All of those are be able to be configured in the system.
So we just ran a report as a supervisor. She can see that 71% of her team members are compliant. That's 5 out of 7. 90% training progress. That's 21 courses were enrolled, but 19 were completed. At the same time, if I click on the total number of participants, I can get a drill down view like this and find out on the right-hand side who was compliant, who was not compliant, directly from the screen. So I have Mary Jane and Cheryl who are not compliant. I can select their names from here, and I can send them an email directly from this screen. These are all permissions based. The system sends out automated alerts for gentle completion reminders, escalation completion reminders, but this is like a nice to have feature whenever they would like, when they run this report. Okay, if I click on Cheryl, I can even drill down to that individual level to find out, 0% compliant, 2 out of 3 courses were completed, the 3rd course was risk management. They can either print this, export this to a CSV file, Or we even have another view called the progress tracker, where they can exactly find out in a more visual format when the course expires, when the requirement expires directly on the screen. The learner can also see this view, by the way. So that was our compliance use case that we wanted to cover. The next one is we might have a similar scenario, but the users might be in a different location. So I created a user who's based in Montreal, for example. And when she logs into the system, she lands on a home page where she gets to see her details, but at the same time, the menu options are in French, and the learning path is also in French. So you can deliver the entire experience in their profile language. We support about 43 different languages, and we've got different versions. So let's say Arabic, we've got 2 versions. Portuguese, we've got 2 versions. French, we've got 2 versions, so that's including Canadian French. Right? So we'll switch gears, we'll move into the sales scenario where I'll log in as a salesperson just to give you an idea of what the salesperson can see and the different tools that they have access to for sharing information amongst their team members. So here, again, on the same system, they could have a completely different look and feel. So in this case, the salesperson has access to the sales branding. And on the home page, the salesperson has access to enrollment, so he can complete his training directly from here, or she could complete training from here. They can also get to see some other content that the administrator has provided them with. So it's more of like that web page or portal view that you can even provide them with. But the key area for them in this example is the sales enablement tool, where he's got all of these sales colleagues here, Brett, Robert, Jim, Michael, and then Brett has shared some data, some content with their team members. So the scenario is he's preparing, he's practicing for, let's say, one of the key tasks, and the supervisor has provided him with some feedback. So what I, as a sales person, can do is I can go into the system, access any of these videos. I can see that he's tried 3 times. And if I click on the video will launch, and I can also see all the collaboration between the sales person and the supervisor on the right-hand side. So that's a sales enablement tool where you can actually upload your own videos, you can upload PowerPoints, PDFs, it could be images, podcasts, and you can share it internally with your team members. And that would actually display in this format. And while they're watching the video, they can add comments, they can ask questions, so that everyone else can collaborate and respond to those questions.
So if you look at the timeline on the right-hand side, the supervisor or colleagues can chime in at whatever point they feel necessary to comment, say, perhaps you should have said that differently, or perhaps you could do this differently next time, which may have led to the other takes that you've seen on the previous screen.
And you can even, within the sales enablement tool, have chapters or timestamps. So if you want people to go to a specific time area or a specific minute, you can actually create that within the sales enablement tool. In addition to that, Sandra, who I've logged in as, also has permissions. This is how she would actually upload content directly within the system. She could record a video. She could even upload her video or have a video with it on her desktop and upload it here. All of that depends on permissions within the system. Okay, and then, can you still hear me? Okay. And she also has access to some tweets from Twitter. Additional information can be displayed directly on the home page. So the next one is the VP of operations is going to log in, and I'll show you how he has access to different features in the system.
So as before, when we were looking at compliance, you've got the person undertaking the course and then the person that needs to go and check the compliance. We'll do the same from a sales perspective. So we've seen the salesperson uploading their videos, having their peers, their supervisor comment on them, and then see what the VP has a look at.
So here we've logged in as George, who's a VP of Operations. On the home page, he gets to see his own training tracker. So he's on target and with his training within the system. He has some learning analytics directly displayed on his home page. So this is pre and post assessment growth. He's got a tweet from Twitter directly on his home page. He's got some shortcuts to org charts, which we'll view in a minute. He can browse through catalogs. He can access the learning analytics platform. He can access Salesforce, sales enablement tools, IT help desks, all of that directly from his home page. But if I scroll down further, another example that you could have a video embedded directly on the home page. So this is what the admin has provided them access to, because this is the video of the week. And George can actually go through the video and again collaborate with his team members directly on screen here. If I scroll down further, he gets to see top salespeople data, production workers' competencies, and sales correlation between informal training versus calls made by the person, all on the same page within the system.
And I think it's important to note that this data can be correlated with the learning data with your operational business data, in this case sales, so that you're able to actually take a look and see what the results of the learning has been compared to the actual business impact results, and then be able to see this in a dashboard on your screen. So it's pretty powerful.
So we've looked at the home page. Now the VP or George clicks on org chart, and the system then launches the org chart view. So you can see the organizational chart here. We logged in as Fiona. So Fiona is a supervisor here. He's right here, George. But if I scroll down further, what I can see is the details of each of the team members with the compliance training, the status, and the cost of that training directly on screen. So this organizational view can be linked directly, and we've got a couple of statuses. So Cheryl has not attempted that course. Mary Jane is still waiting for approval. All of that is picked up and displayed directly within the org chart.
And again, with changing the look and feel for the front page, depending on where you are in the organization, whether it's a subsidiary or another group company, the same can be done here. We've focused in on Fiona and her direct reports. You can do this across multiple org charts throughout the different parts of the organization at a group level. So it's a fantastic way to quickly overview who's compliant and perhaps, again, how much everything is costing in terms of your L&D budget.
And then I've just clicked on Fiona's details here, so you can see more details on the right-hand side. She's a manager. That was her training budget, total headcount, direct reports, how many people have completed, waiting for approval. So this is the sort of data that can be displayed directly to the supervisor or anyone else with permissions in the system. I'm going back to George's homepage. He can still click on Browse Catalogs if he would like to be, if he'd like to enroll in any courses. He can browse through these catalogs and search for content and enroll directly. Learning analytics, if he would wants to get more detail into the reports or wants to create a further report in detail, he can go directly to the dashboard of the analytics platform and configure these here. All depends on permissions. And then the last piece here is the Salesforce. So I click on that. He logs directly into Salesforce and then lands on the page where we've integrated directly with the sales enablement tool within the Salesforce instance.
Yeah, I think why this is so important, as being in sales myself as an example, is that I spend most of my life buried in Salesforce. And being able to actually access training, publish training to my team, and be able to get feedback through that same vehicle is an amazing tool of getting people to consume content with where they're working and where they're living in any given day. So it's extremely powerful.
Yeah. All right. So the next piece is to also highlight, because classrooms are still important, and we've We see a lot of requests still coming in when it comes to instructor-led training. So within the system, and I'm going to log in as an administrator to show you a dynamic resource planner that's built in. So if I click on Resource Planner here, what happens is the planner gets to see this view where he's already saved his favorite view with all the training rooms, the instructors, and the pieces of equipment or resources all on the same page in an integrated calendar view. There is a conflict management system built in. So this summary view can be expanded. So if you would like to find out, I need to create a new session, but I need a room that has a minimum of 10 seats. I can expand this, and you can get more details on the left-hand side. Once you do that, you can even look at the details of the instructor or the pieces of equipment, the serial numbers. And you can also then block these pieces of equipment a day before or a day after the class. So let's say if it's a piece of equipment, you need to clean it or you need to clear the cache, you can do all of that directly within the system. There is a yes. There is a day view, week view, month view, but at the same time, now in this example, we've got conflicts. So you can see that directly on screen. If I click on that, I have the option to go back and change one of the courses because it's been overbooked. And that all depends on permissions. But at the same time, what I can do is I can drag and drop the course directly from the 22nd to the 19th. The system will immediately check for any conflicts. If there are no conflicts, you can go ahead and click on continue and book. And now the session is available for the 19th of February. And this is how the system allows you to schedule sessions within the system. And then the last piece is to show you that as part of PeopleFluent, there are other modules. And to have that all integrated within the same system, you could have a view like this, where you could have not only the learning system, but also your recruitment platform, your performance platform, succession planning platform, compensation, talent mapping, all directly embedded in this one suite. So the manager, the learner, whoever has permissions to the modules will actually get to see everything on the left-hand side. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ali. I think the last thing here is just kind of what we showed you. We're kind of coming to an end of our time, but we are over in booth F10. So we'd love to show you more. And we showed you just a sliver today of the platform. So there's a lot more behind this, but we thought we'd give you a little bit of a demonstration. And we'd very much like to talk to you a little bit later. Come visit us at the booth. We'll be doing this again tomorrow as well. Of course, you won't need to because you've already seen it. But come see us in the booth and see more of the things that we have to share with you. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.